and welcome to the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. Today we have a mental health specialist who works in a local school district. Her name is 𝗏𝗂𝗵𝗵𝗃, and we are going to chat about that connection between just mental health therapists out in the community and therapists within the school, and how we can kind of help each other, what school therapists really do, and all of those little nitty-gritty details. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. I know we worked together, it's been almost a couple years ago now, and you presented at the Mental Health Professionals Luncheon about like school counseling and things like that. And at the time, I think you had transitioned from school counseling into private practice, and now we're kind of doing both.
Yeah, we're doing both.
So can you tell us a little bit about like where you started, like what got you into the counseling field, and where we are today?
Okay, sure. So, let's see. When I was at Ohio State getting my undergrad, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, like most college students. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I ended up taking a coaching job with like at a local middle school, coaching cheerleading. Because I cheered in high school, and I was like, oh, this will be like a fun college job. And I loved it. And what I found is that my athletes kept coming to me asking for advice on like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to manage all of my homework while I'm also an athlete, and I'm having trouble with this friendship, or I'm feeling insecure about my body. And it was just really natural for me to like kind of coach them through those things and help them. And I kind of like paused for a second one day. I was like, maybe I could make a career out of this. Like maybe this could be what I do. And that kind of lends itself to school counseling. So then I pursued school counseling, and from there, I mean, I did that for several years, which I loved. It's like, I think it's just one of the greatest roles in schools.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so wonderful. But I remember during COVID, I was a school counselor, and all of these parents were coming to me. They're like, hey, my kid is really struggling. Like, they need help. And so, I mean, my default, you know, in those situations is I need to refer out. The problem was, if you remember, everyone was booked up in COVID, and it was so hard. And I kept telling these parents, I'm like, sorry, I think the wait list might be like 6 months. And that's really tough because these kids needed service much sooner. Mm-hmm. And there just weren't enough clinicians to support during that time, it felt like, or specific to kids, right?
Right.
So then I thought to myself, I was like, maybe I can help close this gap. Like, I'm really passionate about mental health. I love it. Maybe I'll go back and get my clinical license. I kind of toyed with it before because I've just had such a great experience in therapy and just like gained so much from it that I thought like, oh, this is so amazing. And it is kind of like an extension of school counseling in a way too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I landed in therapy as a clinician, and kind of my journey from a school counselor to a therapist. And yeah.
Well, great. You know, I think a lot of the reasons a lot of us go into therapy is lived experience and things that draw us there for one reason or another. So, you know, you found that in college.
Yeah.
Mine was after college. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I graduated with a degree and was like, yeah, not really what I want to do here.
I mean, as it goes.
So, you know, we all figure it out eventually. Yeah. So now you're back in the school and doing private practice, a little bit of both.
Yes.
And you're loving it.
I'm loving it. So it's really unique. So a lot of schools right now are hiring mental health specialist positions, which is essentially for like a licensed therapist to help students who are on IEPs, you know, support their mental health if they meet the criteria and qualify for the mental health services, right? And there's lots of things in place that need to happen before you can get service for that. But it's something that I'm doing now, which I love because, you know, when I was in grad school becoming a school counselor, I actually worked in special education. So it's just kind of something close to my heart too.
Yeah.
So being able to do that, and then I still see a few adult clients in private practice, which I love. It's a nice mix of almost all of my experience, it feels like, is kind of mixed into what I'm doing now, which is fun.
So what are some of the challenges of being a school counselor? Now, I know you're a mental health specialist, and it's a little different than just a school counselor, but you're in there with the other school counselors.
Yes. And
you did that.
Yeah, I did it for a long time. I think the biggest challenge that they face is time. Right? I think it's like the commodity that we all need, but especially as a school counselor. I mean, there were times where I had a caseload of over 1,000 kids. Like, so being able to service all of those kids can be really tough.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the reality, right? Like, I mean, I think ASCA, which is like the School Counselor Association, really recommends like 250 kids per one school counselor, which is still a lot. But it's hard for districts to get that support because, I mean, especially in Central Ohio, our districts are just growing so much.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest challenge is time. Being able to spend your time where you need it. And also, there's also other like ancillary tasks that get thrown on a school counselor's plate. Like, for example, 504s, right? That kind of like documentation piece that it aligns with what they do, but I think there's like an argument. I mean, some school counselors like refuse to do it.
Oh, okay.
And some are open. I mean, I was like a 504 coordinator for a long time when I did it. It was just kind of part of what I did, and it just became kind of part of my role. But I mean, other school counselors run into the problem of like, okay, I'm meant to do lunch duty, bus duty, this thing, and maybe my time could be spent somewhere else. And so that's hard.
Yeah. So not only time during the day to do what they need to do, but then it seems, at least my knowledge of what school counseling is, and one of the reasons I didn't want to do school counseling was, I guess, the idea of time. And I wanted to be able to sit down and do that one-on-one, which doesn't seem like you get a lot of time to do that with students as a school counselor.
It's tricky. It's tricky to be able to do that. I mean, I think you definitely get the time, right? I mean, those kids are coming in your office.
Yeah. When you want them to or not, they're there.
They're coming into your office. And I also think it depends on, like, certain districts will hire, one school counselor per grade, or sometimes it's one per building. So it just depends on where you are too.
Yeah.
On what your ability to kind of like what that job looks like. And every level is different. I think like elementary looks a lot different than high school.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So you worked when you did that. Are you in elementary school previously?
I was K through 8. So I was kind of like elementary and middle.
So what is the core job of a school counselor?
So the core job of a school counselor is supporting student social and emotional learning, the academic piece of supporting their academics, whether it's like teaching study skills, 504s, unfortunately sometimes, right? And then the last piece is like college and career readiness. So those are kind of like the 3 pillars of school counseling, but trying to help kids get prepared for what's next.
So a lot of that, just the skills that they need within school, and then related to like studying and doing well within school. But all the other problems that exist that they bring to school with them don't always get addressed. Now, I'm assuming they do, because they show up in your office.
Yeah. But then I think that begs the question of like, okay, then we have to have really great referral sources.
Yeah.
Right? Because school counselors, I mean, sometimes it's just out of scope of practice, right? Of like, if a student comes to you with something that's just out of your scope of practice, it's not ethical for you to keep working with that student. I mean, you can certainly support them, but if it's a referral out to a clinician,
right,
that's necessary. And I think having those referral sources is so important.
Yeah. So, how have you found the collaboration, like between the referrals, the outside therapists, and school counselors to be in your experience?
I mean, my personal belief is that collaboration is like a pillar of good care.
Yeah.
Right? Like best practices, good care to actually like treat the whole child or whole person, right? Even as like treating adults, it's like, I want to be in touch with your psychiatrist so that we're on the same page and I know what's going on and they know what's going on, right? But I think my experience is what's been unique. I mean, I've been on both sides, which is really cool. So when I was just doing private practice, I was working with the school counselor, and it was amazing because I can't see what's happening at school. I don't know what those behaviors look like because I have this child for an hour a week.
Right.
So I see what I see in an hour, but that's not necessarily a full picture of what's happening. So being able to collaborate and hear like, oh, this is what is happening for them socially. Oh, this is what's happening academically. These are the behaviors that are showing up. That was such vital information for me because it really informed my treatment.
Yeah. And then you get their perspective on like parent interaction and involvement. I've had that experience, where I definitely see something different from parents.
Yeah.
and then they're seeing from parents. And so you get a more well-rounded picture. But unfortunately, I feel like that doesn't happen as often, like that collaboration.
Right.
I mean, I worked with only children for like 6 years, and I would say the amount of times I spoke with like a school counselor was minimal. So not that we didn't try, but also just lack of interest or maybe lack of time on both ends.
Yeah.
I know would have been helpful, and yet didn't happen as often as it probably should have. So yeah, I think as with any clinician collaboration, having the what do they call that, multidisciplinary approach is always like helpful for these kids, especially.
Yeah. I mean, I think it informs everybody too, right? Because I would be on the, like in my clinician end, talking to the school counselor like, hey, this is what we're working on. This is the verbiage that we're using. So can you please reinforce this? So when this behavior happens, these are the skills I want to try to practice. And I would like teach the school counselors the skills that I was teaching the kid so that they could reinforce it at school. So like it's those pieces, but that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And especially for our kids need consistency and structure. And so if we can be consistent with our language and with our coping skills that we're using, I think that's so important.
So when it comes to that collaboration, we obviously have those things like HIPAA and FERPA and all of that. I guess do you know what the differences are between FERPA and HIPAA, or can you tell us about that?
So, I mean, they're similar in a sense, but I think something that I always tell folks is, listen, if you have a kiddo that has an outside therapist, whether it's like a school counselor or, a parent, get the release of information, because school districts have them, therapists have them, right? Just send it out. Get that release of information out of the way so that if something does happen, they can contact each other.
Right.
Because that makes a big difference. And especially at the start of the school year, I think is so important because things can just naturally come up. And then by the time it's like, oh, wow, this kid is having a really tough time, lots of behaviors. And it's like, well, do we have that release of information? Let me look through. And it's like, let's just get it done at the beginning. So we've got it.
That's a good recommendation. I mean, that's typically what I do. Like when we meet a new client here's a release of information, and is there anybody you think you'd want me to talk to? Let's put them on there.
Yeah.
And then we can always add somebody later, but at least we have it on file if needed. That's a good idea for schools as well. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So obviously that would be the biggest constraint, is having those releases.
Yes.
And then we're free to talk to whoever's on those releases. So then we don't really have much to worry about.
Right.
As far as that communication.
And most of the time they're good for the entire school year, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Making sure that they're dated correctly, right? Some of those like legal things that I think we forget about, but.
So, as your new position as a mental health specialist, what is it that, what are some of the things that you are working with kids on in school?
Lots of emotional regulation.
Okay.
Right? I mean, that's kind of the basis of like working in elementary, right? We're doing like the fundamentals, the basics, but emotional regulation, I think we all benefit from. Yeah. Even working with my adults on that, right? But I think that's one of the really big pieces that I'm working on. And what's great about this position is, if my student does have an outside therapist, I get to contact them, but I also am collaborating with their school counselor too, because I'm in the building. And it's this really amazing collaborative experience where we can all kind of piggyback off of each other and support each other to best serve this kid. And like, okay, well, what things have you tried? Have we learned the zones of regulation? Have we learned size of the problem? And like piggybacking off of these things. So it's like I'm reinforcing what the school counselor's teaching in their monthly lessons, or I'm reinforcing what the therapist is saying. And it's like a lot of those pieces. And then also sharing my own knowledge of like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And your help would be, so appreciated if we could reinforce these things too.
So do you have your own office?
I do.
So is your office full of like toys and fidgets and things?
Lots of fidgets. Lots of fidgets. And I have so many things on my to buy list for August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get a like a stipend or whatever, like to okay.
which is wonderful.
So you don't have to use your own money.
I do not have to use my own money. Oh, yes. But I'm like, I need to get some bubbles for some breathing exercises.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like some of those things that it's fun. I mean, you get to go back to kind of like play therapy.
Kind of. I had collected a bunch of like kid stuff, and now I don't work so much with kids anymore. So I have like drawers of things where I don't really give them out much. But it's still fun. It's still fun to collect, and I keep adding fidgets I have fidget baskets in my office, and
I mean the adults love the fidget.
They do, yeah. Sometimes kids, sometimes adults are like, "Oh, this is new," and I'm like, "Yep, I just added that."
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
Yes.
Okay. Those are just some of like the fun things. Like what is the most fun part of being like a school counselor for you?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I just really loved being able to connect with, I don't know, you just build such great relationships. And especially like in my current role, I'm kindergarten through 6th grade. So I have the opportunity to build these relationships for so long and get to support these kids for such a great amount of time, which I think, I think a lot of us would say this, like the relationship building piece is the best part. And I mean, I think I'm also privileged to work in such a great culture and a great building that having the support of my colleagues is just wonderful. And in private practice, right, too, I have so much wonderful support, which always feels good.
I think it makes everything a lot better when we have that support, because I don't know about you, but I know I've definitely worked in environments where there wasn't as much support and, camaraderie. And so it makes life stressful and, like you don't want to be there. But it sounds like you have that. Like you want to be there. It's great. You have people that support you and like are there for you and the students.
Which is huge.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, we're all kind of working towards the same goal of like, what's best for these kids? What can we do? And I love that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Because I know I tell my kids, like, we don't want to see you fail. We don't want to see you struggling, and so we're all here to try to help you do better.
Yeah.
And there's good and bad professionals and teachers and things out there for every.
We're just like fits, right? Like some people just like get along really well with a certain style.
That's true.
Of teaching. And some kids are like, oh, this is not what I need. And this is why we hand place students. You know what I mean? A lot of times students who need a little extra support, we hand place them because we're like, oh, we want you with someone who is like super empathetic and
who we know can handle.
And some other kids just need someone who's like super structured and that feels good to them. And that's great.
That's true. Yeah. No, I definitely like that better. And I know my son has benefited from that, like special selection. So he has an IEP and he needs the school counselors and he needs those things. So I'm grateful that, they're there when he's having a rough day and can send them a message like, bad morning, Brianne.
But even that, right? That's parent collaboration too, which I think is so important. Right. And that's oftentimes that I'm talking to my parents, whether it's in private practice or at school, like, what's going on at home? Like, how are things going? What's going on? And then also, I do also often do a pulse check on parents. Like, are you guys okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, it's hard to care for someone and love someone who's having a hard time. And you also need support because that's a difficult thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I appreciate you saying that because I'm a therapist and I don't have it all together. And, it's hard to know things and then also have a kiddo who struggles with things and trying to play both roles is hard.
It's hard. When it's also kind of like, I mean, we all need support, right? It's like why we can't therapize ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Earn it too.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that would be nice, but it just doesn't work that way.
It sure does not.
So we said like, what's the good thing? What are some of those like not great things that we don't really talk about that's not great about your profession?
I think it's taxing, right? I mean, I think it's emotionally taxing. I think we feel this as therapists. It's heavy and it's a lot. And it's a lot throughout the day. I think especially in school counseling, like, I mean, it could be every like 5, 10, 15 minutes that you're getting something new thrown at you. And in the private practice space, I mean, you're still doing that, but you're doing it in hour chunks.
Yeah.
Right? It's different.
Yeah.
It's a different level. But both I think are equally challenging
Mm-hmm.
because you still have to end your day and go back to your family and your life and be yourself after all of that.
Right.
So, I mean, I always lecture people on this and I will say lecture because it truly is a lecture, on self-care. And it was poured down my throat in grad school to like, oh, take care of yourself, take care of yourself. While simultaneously, you're going to class, you're interning, you're working, you're doing all these things, which is a really difficult thing to give yourself self-care during that time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But good lesson, just harder to practice during that season. But I do tell people all the time, like, if you're going to do this work, you have to prioritize taking care of yourself first. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just so true. I mean, you're going to burn out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, paperwork, I think that's my least favorite. Writing notes, and my least favorite.
Yeah.
All of the business stuff. Again, as a private practice, it's like social media. Like, I like scrolling social media. I don't like making the social media.
Well, and it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's not easy.
I tried to make a video the other day. And now that I'm a mom, how do I do that? I like started a video and I'm like, hang on, wait, I gotta get the baby. Yeah, it's just not really happening.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it through spurts where I'll have motivation. I'll make a couple videos and then nothing.
Yeah. I posted a really fun reel. I'm like, I'm back to my Instagram and I still haven't posted anything. So like, am I back? I don't know.
Well, I have always liked your videos.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So
whenever I have time.
Yeah, when you get back to it, and I think what my husband tells me is like, I overthink it. So like, we don't have to be super fancy or do fancy things to get attraction and like people to see it. But that's harder to do.
For sure.
Because in my mind, it has to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just another thing too that I think is being added to like mental health therapists' plates right now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's like being an expert in business and therapy.
And social media. And whatever that's called. Yeah.
It's
marketing.
Marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my least favorite parts of my job.
I can understand that. Yeah.
So like when you talked about the collaboration of parents, how can parents advocate for their students with like school counselors? I think from what I've just experienced, there's more of like a hands-off approach, right? I send them to school, you do what you need to do, and then send them home, and like I'll take over. What would benefit the students more? Like, how can the parents be involved and maybe help with this process?
I mean, I think just advocating for your kiddo, right? Like, even like you said, of like, if my son is having a rough morning, I'm going to let the team know, right? Like, it is a team sport, caring for kids. And so I think like being able to advocate and say like, hey, I'm noticing this. Can you help? What can we do? Are you seeing it at school? Right? Just like communication. Because sometimes, I mean, school counselors are, they're busy. They're running all over the place and they catch a lot. But sometimes, right, it's like if a kid is like performing well academically, is like pretty well behaved, those kids slip under the cracks.
Right? Because they're fine.
Yeah, because you can't see any obvious signs of like, oh, this child is really having a difficult time because they're screaming, they're throwing things. Like, you don't see that with those kids. You see like, oh, this kid's doing great. And so especially those students, I think parents need to advocate and say like, hey, I'm kind of concerned. They're kind of anxious. Or I'm noticing this. Could you check in? And the other thing that school counselors offer, which is just so incredible, is small groups. Like a lot of school counselors offer small groups throughout the year, whether it's on friendships, study skills. I'm not sure if you're familiar with ROCKS.
I was actually going to ask that. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm actually a ROCKS facilitator. So I got facilitated when I was a school counselor, and now I just got refacilitated so I could help out with groups in my district in my current role, just because I love ROCKS.
Yeah.
So if people don't know what ROCKS is, ROCKS stands for Ruling Our Experiences, and it's a group for girls to empower them and to build their self-esteem and their leadership skills. And it's incredible. It's an incredible program.
I had a student a client who was a student, I kind of offered that experience, but she was very hesitant to do it because it was like, to her, it was like, oh, that's something that's other, like it's othering me, like to go to this group. And I was like trying to encourage her to do it, and her mom, we both were, and she was like not having it. I was like, all right, well, maybe you can try it again next year if they offer it, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I know just from what I've learned, it seems like a really cool like experience. But
It is
from
cool.
the other side, this is what I heard from the one student that had the opportunity. It was like, ooh, I don't know.
Well, and I think sometimes it just depends on how it's delivered, right? Like I've been in districts where, they just offer it to the whole grade. And they're like, whoever wants to opt in, you can opt in. So it feels less like you're being selected.
Oh, yeah, she was selected.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens too. I mean, it can be pricey to enroll all those girls in that program too, because the school covers that typically.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, I can understand that too, of like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mean, I've run a rocks group before, and in the beginning, it's like crickets. So quiet. And then by the end, it's like you've taken all these girls who are from different friend groups, different backgrounds, do different activities, and they're all just like getting along.
Right.
They're all chatting, they're all supporting each other, and it's amazing.
I know you and I can see that potential. And so it's like, how do we get that across to students? But I know like you've got that. But so like, school counselors offer like individual school support groups, and helping with those IEPs, 504s, things like that. And that's kind of where you are, is more specifically like
I'm more
those
specifically
kiddos.
IEPs. Yep. Those are the kiddos that I work with. And, school counselors are typically just helping out with those 504s, writing those documents and holding those meetings. And
So are there skills, things that you're working on, like for those kids that struggle with some of those perfectionism, overthinking, self-esteem, issues? And I know that's some of the stuff you do in your private practice, if I'm not mistaken, but more with like adults.
Yes.
And so in the school, how are you working with kids with those things?
Well, and I think I have worked in many districts that are just high achieving districts, right? Which is great, because I think sometimes it's like, if we set the bar high, we're going to achieve high, right? And that makes sense. But sometimes it can put a lot of pressure and a lot of perfectionism. And if I don't get this grade, what is my self-worth? And this is a conversation that I have with, my adult clients all the time. What are we hinging our self-worth on? Are we hinging it on academics? Are we hinging it on like my sports or my relationships, what neighborhood I live in, right? Like all of these things. I mean, we do this as adults sometimes. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, if we put our self-worth on those things can be taken away.
Right.
You can fail a class. You can lose the game. You can get laid off from that job. You could get broken up with, right?
Yeah.
If we put our worth in these things. So we have to put our self-worth in those things that are kind of immovable. Like, I'm kind. I'm a hard worker. I am a good friend, right? Because if you fail the test, those things still remain true.
Right. No, that's a very good point. I never looked at it like that. This is why I like these conversations, because I always hear things from a different angle, and you're not just hearing them from your own brain and your own self. Yeah. So I like that.
Yeah. So that's something that we work on a lot of like strength-based work of like, okay, what are we really good at? Let's cultivate these skills. Let's own this. Let's feel good about this, and like building the confidence around that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so are there specific tools that like how do you help staff, I guess? How do you help the staff, the teachers? So once you send those kiddos back to class, what is it that you are working, I'm assuming maybe working with staff on, so they can help these students?
So actually in this past school year, I was like fortunate enough to be able to present to staff a few times on various topics, whether it was like trauma, some things like that were really valuable, I felt, to helping them understand ways we can support students, right? And one of the things that I always tell people is try to do the 2x10 rule. Do you know what this is?
No.
Okay. So it's have a conversation with the student for 2 minutes about whatever they want for 10 days consecutively. So not about academics, not about school, whatever they want, whatever like Minecraft thing that they're into right now, or whatever like sports that they're into, whatever it is, you just talk to them about that for 2 minutes. And you do that every day for 10 days. And that helps build a relationship. So that's building in a trusted adult at school that they can rely on. Because I think life is so valuable with trusted relationships, and that kids need that.
Yeah.
Kids need that at school. So I always tell people, do that, because that will build that relationship and foster a sense of belonging that they need.
Yeah.
And also, if things go sideways at school, they've got someone that they want to talk to.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I know that can feel like a lot when you have a classroom full of, 30 students or whatever.
But even if it's as the kids are walking in for the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just a quick, hey, so-and-so, what'd you do this weekend? Oh my gosh, tell me about that. And then just doing that every day.
I've seen those videos. I don't know if you've probably seen them since you're in school, like the principals who are like really engaged with their students. Yeah. Like walking down the hall and saying hi and like doing things. And they know every student's name,
which is impressive.
Yeah.
I am always impressed by sometimes I'm impressed when especially in bigger districts that like people know my name. I'm like, hey, I know we're colleagues, but like I'm impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. So like just trying to have that more personal relationship is your biggest like recommendation for
sure.
Staff.
Yes.
And then that will help them to connect, and they'll be more likely to listen and more likely to, want to do whatever they're suggesting and feel more comfortable with them when they have a struggle, and will come to them versus maybe like acting out or doing something like that.
I really do think that relationships can help solve a lot of our behavior concerns.
That I know personally, like that was something my son experienced. So one of his teachers in the last few years was not great. Or I'm sure she was a perfectly good teacher, but the interaction was not great. So he was in trouble all the time. And then the following year, it was like a 180. He didn't change that much, So to me, it was like that relationship he had with that teacher.
Well, and sometimes, and that can do it, right? I mean, sometimes it's like we just have to put these kids in environments where they're going to be successful,
right?
And so it's like, what does that look like for them? And it's different for each kid.
True. Yeah. So I'm sure there were other kids in that class that loved that teacher. Yeah. He did not. So, I think that there's lots of messages we can get from like the experience that you share with students. But is there anything that you think would be important for school counselors to know when they're feeling that sense of like overwhelm, being undervalued, unsure of like if this is their path, kind of like where you were maybe in the pandemic, like this is just too much and maybe I'm needed elsewhere. Like what message do you have for them?
I mean, I'll give my lecture again on self-care, right? Like practice self-care because what you do, your work is heavy. And someone's got to carry it. And it's amazing and wonderful that you want to be the brave soul to do it, right? And you need to take care of yourself too in order to carry that weight.
So what would be some examples, I guess, of how a school counselor can do that?
Go to therapy.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I say this to therapists too. Everybody needs to go to therapy. Big proponent. But I also think advocate for yourself too and what you want your role to look like. Because I think, especially if you've got like a really great administrative team that you can trust and you can talk to, and be like, hey, I'm not sure that I'm using my time as best as I could. Can we change this? And hopefully that you've got a supportive administration that's willing to hear that and willing to work with you.
Right.
I've been fortunate enough to work with so many great administrators that I felt like I could trust and I could have these conversations with. But also consult with other school counselors. And if there's a mental health specialist or a therapist in your building, I know some districts will contract out with like another agency and have that therapist in that building. But consult. I think consulting with the team can be great because you guys are all doing similar work.
Right.
And if it feels too much or like, I don't even know if I said the right thing to this kid today, does that sound off? Like sometimes we just need that camaraderie and that discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say that I had another note here. Oh yeah, do a pulse check on what you feel you're capable to provide, right?
Okay.
Like I think a lot of school counseling is solution-based work, which is great and so valuable. But if it's feeling too heavy, send it on to a referral. But even if it's not too heavy, even if it's like this kid keeps coming to my office every day after lunch to talk to me, I can't meet with them every single day, which happens. Like, okay, that's probably time to refer out, right? Like I look at frequency and severity, right? When I think about referrals, even if a kid is just coming to you every single day, it's great that you're that trusted adult for them, but also there's other students that need you too. And if it feels like too much and this kid might need extra support, refer out. And that's okay.
I think it's also probably, you'd probably say the same thing for you, but for me, it was setting boundaries with like what I'm able and not able to do or what I will and will not do. So like when they say like leave work at work, whereas I used to would maybe take my notes home and do them at home, I was like, we're not doing that anymore.
Yes.
It's staying here. So if they're not done, I'll just have to do it tomorrow, or I have to change the way I'm doing my notes or, whatever. So I'm not burning myself out. So I think that's also part of self-care is knowing where you need to set a limit.
I love that. I mean, I tell people like, leave your laptop at work. Don't take it home. That like lives at your desk.
Yeah.
And I think that can create that separation because like your home life needs you too. And like that, I like joke, but like that's your real life. Your whole life is like your real life. This is your work life.
Right.
And so it's like create that separation because you need it. We can't be in work mode all the time. It's not healthy.
Right.
And so, I mean, even over like spring break, winter break, I'll leave my laptop there. I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
That's not mine.
Yep.
I only brought it home over the summer because I have to.
Or checking emails, right? So I try not to look at my work email over the weekend. I know when every once in a while something might pop up and then I get distracted. But like for the most part, I'm like, we're not looking at it. We're not addressing it, because that's work. And we're trying to have that separation. So I think that's just another good thing to add to that. This is like self-care. People don't necessarily think that's self-care, but
totally.
I mean, it is taking care of yourself to like have some limits.
It was funny. I presented to staff on like supporting staff in mental health. And one of the things I said was like, try to not have your work email on your phone. And it was so funny. Some staff like laughed at me. They're like, are you joking? I'm like, no, I'm like so serious. Like it's not something that can't wait till Monday. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too of like recognizing your role, like especially outpatient therapists and school counselors, you're not a 24/7 crisis hotline, right? That's not your job. And you put those in your email signature so people have them, right? And it's like, I think that sometimes it has given me peace in the past of like, okay, if I know I'm leaving on a Friday and I had been working with this kiddo and I'd talked to the parents and done all these things, I'm like, you know what? They have all the information that they need to get the support that they need. The rest is out of my hands. And I can take my weekend and go enjoy it with my family.
Right. Yeah. Well, any last words for parents, teachers, other therapists that like we haven't already covered?
I don't think so. I think just my main message here is probably just collaborate. Collaborate with the multidisciplinary team that you've got that's supporting these students or clients because it makes such a big difference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for collaborating with me and, talking today. And we will see you again next time.